So today I want to give you a summary of all of the things that we've looked at on the case study that we've been looking at this last year on a house that we designed 20 years ago, and how we could improve it today. So this is a summary, but I highly recommend that if you want to find out a bit more, go back, subscribe on the link below to our YouTube channel, and go back through the series which goes through more detail of all of the things that I will be summarising here. So the first thing I guess I should say, which I guess might be frustrating if you're hoping to get an answer for your house, is that unfortunately there is no one size fits all. Just looking at this house plus other houses that I've been looking at over the year, all inefficient, all got challenges in various different ways, and they all have different solutions that will make the biggest difference to them. Whether that be a thermal solution, which is often the problem because most houses designed in New Zealand are really thermally challenging, or durability issues where there's mould, condensation, that kind of thing going on. So it's really important to get the house energy modelled, and it's also really important then when you're looking at refurbishment to look at WUFI or a way at looking at the moisture management through the new constructions that you might be looking at, or just to look at something which Sustainable Engineering, Jason from Sustainable Engineering is putting together, which will be a guide for retrofitting, which is fantastic. So highly recommend looking through that, where there are standard details that have been modelled that if you replicate, you'll should get a good solution. So what did we learn from this case study? So the biggest thing I guess we've learned is that there are some inherent challenges that are really difficult to change. Once you have built a building, you've locked in a lot of things which, when it comes to then undoing it or trying to make it better, it's just going to cost more and more money, which is why it's so important to do it right at the beginning and spend that money. Do it once, do it right, whether it's for you or the legacy that you're leaving in a house that ultimately one day might just have to be knocked down because it's not as good as it should be. But what we can do now to make the biggest difference is look at the heating and the domestic hot water. So as with many houses of this era, there's in-slab heating, there's water in the slab, but it is through a one-to-one domestic hot water cylinder. Changing that to a heat pump hot water cylinder, which has approximately a 3-to-1 efficiency. So you pay for a kilowatt, you get 3 out. You get immediate savings, and you're looking at a 3 to 4 year payback on around $23,000 for that, just to buy that heat pump hot water cylinder. Same then is true for heat pumps around the house, looking at putting heat pumps on the walls. Instead of direct electricity heating, you get immediately a lower cost heating solution, so you're keeping the house warm. You've then obviously got the ability to cool it as well, because this house also overheats in the summer. So that's kind of a no-brainer. That's, to be honest, that's the only no-brainer that there is. When it comes to the other things, they're all quite costly. They obviously all make a difference, but it becomes more of a decision around how much money you want to spend. So the biggest one is the windows, and when I said at the start that there is no rule of thumb, actually windows, typically there is a rule of thumb. Windows always makes the biggest difference, but generally always comes with the biggest price tag as well. The better windows, the more it will cost, but the bigger difference it will make. So if you go the whole hog to passive house, triple glazed, obviously thermally broken because they're passive house, airtight windows, you're looking at, I think it was around a 54% increase to the thermal efficiency of the house. But it's not just about that, it's about how they're much more comfortable. You're not getting the condensation on them, you can stand right next to them and you're not feeling cold or hot. And they're not causing that thermal challenge of coldness all around them. But you're looking at, if you've gone for that whole hog, you're looking at, I think if it's just looking at payback, it's something like 29-year payback, because they are going to cost you around $250,000 to do that. As I said, it is a big house. Smaller houses will be different and a lot cheaper. But then obviously we looked at the insulation. If we improve the insulation all around the house, I think we were looking at just around 40% increase in thermal efficiency, which is good, but the cost that is quite tricky because it depends how you go about it. You could insulate on the outside, but you have inherent challenges with that. You've got to take the cladding off, where if it's a tight eaved house like this one, you haven't got the ability then to, you've got to look at a different detail around the eaves, which can be really complicated and messy and difficult to achieve. If you insulate on the inside, you have to take off all the linings typically and re-insulate, and the way that we did it was showed an extra cavity on the inside, so you could be losing space in the rooms. The other challenge with this house, or the biggest challenge I think I should say, is the thermal bridging, and that is something that we can't fully resolve even when we're looking at re-insulating it because of the way that the house has been detailed. There's a lot of concrete in the house, and there's junctions where you've got concrete immediately adjacent to aluminium, whether it's a window or a skylight, and you've got mould growth happening. One of the posts we did had this mould, you could see all this hidden mould that was growing. And it's a huge challenge. It's almost impossible in some cases to change because of, you basically have to put a whole new construction in place around that wall to avoid that thermal bridge, which is just going to be a lot of money and possibly not worth it. So if we looked at the very first episode, we looked at how different this house would be were we designing it today using the detailing and the thermal constructions that we use today. And it was a basically exact same house, exact same design, same orientation and everything. It would be 6 times better than it is currently, which just shows how important it is to put that in from the start and make the house as good as you possibly can right at the beginning, especially if, like this house, it's going to be in the family for 20 plus years. It makes a big difference. So if you are keen to find out more about creating a low energy house, or if you've got challenges with your own house, then give us a call or send me a message and we are here to help.